Hi, greetings, friends. It's been 80 years, to quote Titanic. It's been so long, but we're back, and we're gonna talk about the death of Stalin and the oath. And this happened because Joey was like, "Challenge. I'm gonna pick a movie for you to watch. You pick a movie for me to watch, and then we talk about it." And I was like, "That sounds great." So we did it, and.
Yeah.
Joey's pick was The Death of Stalin for me to watch, and I had him watch The Oath, which is a Hulu original. And Joey was just saying something that brought us right into the conversation beautifully. So go ahead, Joey.
Yeah. And real quick, I just want to express my gratitude for you changing your mind from the Seed of Chucky, because that would have required me rewatching The Bride of Chucky, in which the puppets fuck, and I don't know. I don't remember that scene fondly, so I'm glad I didn't have to rewatch that. But
yeah, do they do that in The Seed of Chucky? I don't think they do it in The Seed of, well, but regardless,
definitely do it in The Bride of Chucky.
There is like a scene that Chucky does he rape Jennifer Tilly in order to, I don't remember how it goes down, but they're gonna artificially inseminate Jennifer Tilly with Chucky's seed. Like that actually happens in The Seed of Chucky, but they already have a kid, which is like the little puppet, the little redhead. And the reason I wanted you to watch it is because when they find out they have this kid, like Chucky and his bride are arguing. Like Chucky wants it to be a boy and she wants it to be a girl. And when they're gonna make it human, they're like, well, I want a boy and I want a girl. And he's having this gender identity crisis. And eventually what ends up happening is he loses his shit and he goes Norman Bates, and he dresses like a woman and kills people and doesn't remember. So it's Psycho, but with gender identity crisis. So it actually has really interesting commentary in it. But it didn't go well with The Death of Stalin. I was like, I should pick something that falls more in line. But that's why I wanted you to watch it. I did have something legit there, but very shrouded in camp.
It sounds a different context for sure. We can circle back to that one.
We'll circle back.
Yeah. But I was talking about how I was watching a lot of medieval stuff lately, Vikings and Last Kingdom and.
Uh-oh, did he just mute out on me right now? Oh my gosh. Well, folks, I'm gonna see if we can wait this out. See if his audio comes back.
Okay.
There he is. Wait, you're back. You're back.
Never get tired of that. But the main criticisms of Outlaw King and King are that they're not historically accurate, which is to be expected because you can't make a historically accurate movie about medieval times because those people are always one of 8 children, and for them to to reach the point in history where they're the ones that are the main character, they have to wait for 4 of their siblings to die, and and get married 3 times by the time before they're 21.
Yeah.
And you have to wade through that in film format. You're going to lose everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that, but the gaps. There are gaps, right?
Yeah.
And especially in terms of conversation. And this is something when you write creative nonfiction, and you're like, that seems ridiculous. How can it be nonfiction but be creative? And I'll tell you how. In creative nonfiction, you stick to the facts as much as possible, but anywhere that there's a gap, for example, let's say, you're writing out a conversation between Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. You need to take creative liberties with this because you don't
cut the occasional corner.
Yes.
And one example in the show Vikings is that Alfred, who later becomes Alfred the Great, he actually only became king after his older brother Ethelred died. In the show, his older brother gets passed over, and Alfred becomes king right away. Right. And that creates a tension between them two, which makes for more compelling television.
Yeah.
Not what happened, but
yeah. Well,
but for him after his brother died, it takes too long. Let's just cut to the chase.
But segue into The Death of Stalin, which was my homework, and when I was reading up on it, I was looking at, like quote unquote controversies, and it had to do with historical inaccuracies. But as I was reading through the list, and maybe I should pull them up, but as I was reading through the list, there was one, and actually I am going to pull it up because I don't want to say the names incorrectly.
Okay.
Because they're real people. And yeah, I just thought it was really interesting because as I was reading them, I was like, well, these changes that were made, these creative liberties that were taken, were done to make the film more compelling. I was like, I understand why every single one, I understand why they did this, and this. So here's, okay, for example, Molotov was not foreign minister when Stalin died. He had been sacked in 1949, but became foreign minister again in the post-Stalin reshuffle. So that was a simplification because they wanted the character and they weren't going to go, like you say, through the whole shebang of, well, he wasn't there and then he came back and then blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They were just like, nah, he's there. Perfect, right? Here, Marshal Zhukov was a local field commander when Stalin died, exiled to the provinces to satisfy Stalin's paranoid jealousy of him. He became deputy minister of defense in the post-Stalin government, but was not the commander of the Soviet army. But it makes sense that if he's someone that Stalin already had issues with, that they would pick that character to lead the kind of coup, right? Or to help with the coup, rather. Then, blah, blah, blah. Beria was arrested 3 months after Stalin died. Beria, excuse me. Not almost simultaneously, but you know that they did that because it's more dramatic. They got to do the simultaneous arrest so we can see it on screen. So to me, it's such a dumb complaint. Like, it is such a dumb, like you shouldn't even take those seriously. Like, these people don't watch film if that's their biggest critique. Oh, historical inaccuracy. Duh. They got to make it into a compelling film. Just saying.
I love.
Go ahead.
I love. Zhukov is played by Jason Isaacs.
Yes.
Right? I love his character so much when he throws off the cloak and he's just like bedazzled with medals. And that's shit.
When they introduce him, like, and it's all slow motion and fabulous.
I love I love that he when Khrushchev, who's played by Steve Buscemi, brings up the idea of a coup. He basically the personification of the Rick and Morty memes. Like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah. Yes.
Immediately.
He's like, yes, absolutely. Let's do it. By the way, the movie, to me, when I was watching it, it's if Jojo Rabbit and Death at a Funeral had a baby, this is it. It's very much like taking something that is serious historical event, socio-cultural events that unfold, right? But they are treated with this humor in a way that works, right? And so you see that happening in The Death of Stalin. And Death at a Funeral, that scene when Stalin first drops and he's in the office and they find him, and then they start arriving one by one, and they're like, close the door, close the door, close the door. This is like textbook from Death at a Funeral. And I mean Death at a Funeral 2007, the British Death at a Funeral, the British one. It's the same thing when they come in and then one more comes in and then one more comes in and they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Well, we gotta do this bit. And then the power grab begins, right? The rat race begins. And hilarity ensues, right?
Well, I mean, have you seen Veep?
No,
because it's directed by Armando Iannucci,
which is the same from Death of Stalin.
And it's a black comedy about not necessarily the politics, because I don't think it's necessarily an anti-communist movie. It's just it's about like the personal rivalries within the political context, much like Veep is, which doesn't like it's not full frontal with its politics per se, but it shows how petty and shallow people involved in politics are, and that's what like the Stalin's cabinet is. They don't make light of the terrible things that happened under Stalinism. Like, it's the executions and kidnappings and stuff are shown pretty darkly, and they don't try to powder up the sex crimes that happened. Beria, the head of the secret police, famously, if you look him up on like his Wikipedia and stuff, he consistently and regularly kidnapped young Russian women and raped them. And they show, I think they nod to this in the movie, where he always gave them like a bouquet of flowers afterwards.
Yeah, they do say something about, I I wish
Yeah.
we could remember the exact scene and what they say, but that rings a bell.
But the humor and the actual darkness and the depravity of it are peppered throughout the movie, and in a very similar way that, and we'll come back to this later, that The Oath does it, where neither tone like overshadows the other.
Yeah, I
You
personally
never
don't
feel
think so.
you never feel overwhelmed either by the tension or the comedy.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. That is totally true. I will say that there was some critique of the death of Stalin, saying that it was British intellectualism making fun of communism or belittling communism or like anti-communist propaganda type blah blah blah. Which whatever, you can accuse them of. If you kind of support those people though, which is problematic in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying about.
Yeah, because it's more, it really went kind of unheralded as a Trump movie, because even though it wasn't as obvious or kind of so I don't know, duplicitous about anti-Trump criticism, because there was one movie made that actually featured Trump, and it was that Comey Rule movie. I think what's it? Jeff Daniels. I think he plays Comey, the former FBI director who's like 6'8".
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. Brendan Gleeson plays Trump, and he, as far as I don't know, I'm told that he plays him well. I don't know. I didn't see it, but there was also that wave that kind of vaguely alluded to Trump criticism, movies like Parasite and Jojo Rabbit.
Well, yeah, and beyond film, in TV, American Horror Story Cult.
Yeah.
It's literally the first episode starts with all of the like Trump propaganda and the election, everything. They announce he wins, and the characters on screen are having like a meltdown, and the entire thing is criticizing the fear of rhetoric. It is so anti-Trump, and it's Trump like anti-Trump. Like I was honestly really, really surprised at how blatant it was.
Yeah.
Like
and the boys that we talked about was the same way.
Yeah.
The way that the death of Stalin differs from that and works better, I think, is that it portrays more about the people that surrounded him. Because Stalin was only in the movie for a few minutes, right? He dies,
and Trump is never an American Horror Story, by the way.
Yeah, and then it's all about like all these like backbiting opportunists that just like scramble and trip all over each other.
Yes.
Trying to come out on
opportunistic people, be it people in office like you have in Death of Stalin, or people who have just been waiting, like Kai's character in American Horror Story, who have just been, or the guy in The Oath, the one that is super power hungry and has his little trip in the house. He's just waiting for some motherfucker like that to come into power, to be opportunistic and get to do what he's always wanted to do. And I feel like you're right. They do make a commentary on that more so than criticizing whatever politician.
Than the ideology. He just used the Stalinism, which did have some serious elements of cult of personality, but more of a commentary on the people that surrounded Trump. Like you could easily swap one for one people like Scaramucci and
all of them,
Omarosa and Sean Spicer and all those freaks that worked and just shuffled in and out and just turned on him or were turned on themselves by Trump the second they stopped becoming useful. And that was the angle that was taken. That's why I felt it wasn't really an assault on the ideology per se. He just used it as like the vehicle to just to make fun of those people, honestly.
Yeah, no, and that's clearly what they were doing, because there's this great scene when they're introducing the secretaries of X, Y, and Z for Stalin. And when they're introduced with their names, and when they're introduced, they show them in slow motion. They're jumping up and down, doing something really stupid. And they're like, secretary of blah, 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 secretary of blah, blah. So clearly what they're doing here is making fun of the idiots that have become a part of this, right? Very much. And it's the same in The Oath. I don't know if you would agree with me, but they made both sides look like idiots.
Yes, And real quick before we move on to that, I want to talk about how underappreciated the role of Stalin's son went, because I think because that was probably the most on the nose yet unnoticed portrayal of one of the weirdest aspects of the Trump just persona is how much he hates his kids.
Yeah.
And Stalin's son, famously a fail son, you know, he like the whole thing about him managing the hockey team and the entirety of it dying in a plane crash actually happened.
Oh my
and then
God.
tries to like secretly just come up with another brand new hockey team.
You're right. I completely forgot about that. And the fact that that wasn't on the list of historical inaccuracies should have made me severely impressed and like, what? That's real? Damn. Are you going to move on to, I feel like you were going to talk about something else. No? Hello?
Okay, there we go.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening. He's back.
Yeah. And Stalin Jr. was pretty obviously Donald Trump Jr., who was probably Trump's least favorite kid, which is hilarious. And my favorite probably Trump thing that I ever witnessed, and it was on
was what? Oh, wait. I can't hear you. Yep. Gotta give it a second. Give it a do.
There we go.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, it's worse than usual now. Okay. But and what really struck it home for me was that probably my favorite Trump thing that I've witnessed was obviously on Twitter. Trump Jr. posted something, I think it was for Father's Day, you know, one of his trademark cries for help. And and Trump quote tweeted it with just the caption, "Just the guy who loves his dad. Nice." And it was that thing where he like just acknowledges like his existence, but not his relationship to him.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Stalin Jr. made the perfect analog for that.
Yeah.
But you were talking, how are we tying this into to the oath?
Well, because I had mentioned that they make both sides look like idiots, but you said before we move on that you wanted to bring up the portrayal of Stalin's son and how you see the correlation between that.
Yeah, I just wanted to shit on Trump's kid for a second.
I mean, you know, do you, man? I'm all about it. So, but moving on to, I mean, I whatever thought, not like we need to really switch movies, but so the reason, so you guys have a little background. He's talking, but we can't hear him. We can't hear him right now. We can't hear him, but okay. There he is. He's back.
Okay. Yeah, this was my second attempt at watching the movie. And hang on, I got to pause 1 second.
You gotta pause. Okay. Cool. He's pausing for a second, and I'm gonna get a beer. So BRB.